So moving on to the next part, we have seen how the double fertilization takes place in the case of higher plants. Okay, the process is clear now. Syngamy, triple fusion. So there is a zygote that is produced, correct? And that zygote develops to give rise to the embryo, right? And along with that, because of the other fertilization, there is the endosperm which is produced, which is the food for the developing embryo. And we have seen after fertilization how the ovule turns into the seed and ovary turns into fruit. Okay, and there is the seeds which are produced inside the fruits. Okay, this story is understood. Any doubt still here?
No, sir.
Okay, so now what can be the next process? Can you tell me? If fruit है उसके अंदर seed planted. After that, what will happen? How will the reproduction get completed after this? Seed के अंदर क्या है? It is the young embryo. Okay, so when you want a new plant, what do? You take the seed, sow it in the soil, and then the plant emerges out. We call it seed germination. So in the nature, if human beings are not sowing the seed, the plants are themselves having their own methods by which they can put their seeds in the soil. उसको बोलते हैं seed dispersal. Sometimes the seeds are light in weight, so there will be wind which will blow, carry the seeds to a large distance. They will land up on the soil and germinate. Sometimes water becomes the agent of dispersal. You see plants like coconuts, जो समंदर किनारे grow होते हैं, correct? So when they grow, the coconuts fall into the sea water. They will sail in the sea water to some large distance and फिर कहीं जाके germinate. Sometimes animals become the agent for dispersal. You see animals like monkeys and squirrels. They eat the fruits, the tasty pulpy fruit वगैरह तोड़ के खा लेंगे, seed को कहीं फेंक देंगे. That's what the plants want, right? Animals like squirrel जैसे animals होते हैं, which sometimes what they do, they will take the fruit or the seed and put it inside their burrow in the soil. ये सोच करके बाद में कभी खाएंगे. But when they put it into their burrow, sometimes they forget where they have placed it. So plants का तो काम हो गया, seed गया soil के अंदर, right? Sometimes animals like elephants and rhinoceros, वो लोग क्या करते हैं, fruit और seed पूरा एक साथ खा लेते हैं. But the seed passes through their alimentary canal without getting digested completely. Okay, and somewhere later they will pass out the seeds in their excreta, and फिर वो germinate करते हैं. So there are different ways in which the seeds can germinate. Okay, but the general structure of a seed has to be understood. So there are two types of seeds in higher plants. एक होता है monocot seed, दूसरा है dicot seed. Mono means single, di means two. So when you say monocot, it has come from the word cotyledon. So it has got a single cotyledon, and dicotyledon means it has got two cotyledons. So cotyledons क्या है? They are seed leaves, fleshy leaves. See, inside the seed, एक तरफ endosperm है, as we have seen, that's the nutritive tissue, and दूसरी तरफ उसका embryo है, which is the young plant which is going to germinate, right? So in दोनों के बीच में there is a leafy structure present, which is called cotyledon. So if there is only one cotyledon covering the embryo, उसको बोलते हैं monocotyledon. And if there are two such cotyledons covering it, so we call it dicotyledons. So it is depending upon the number of cotyledons inside the seed. The number of seeds can be any number. एक एक plant में कितने भी seeds बन सकते हैं. But inside the seed, how many cotyledons are there? That's how you understand between these two. So monocotyledon का example, you must have seen maize, sweet corn, भुट्टा खाए रहेंगे, है ना? वो example है monocotyledon seed का. So there is this seed coat, internally this endosperm, and you can see the embryo. ओके ये उसका स्ट्रक्चर है। एम्ब्रियो के दो रीजन्स हैं, द वन पार्ट ऑफ द एम्ब्रियो विच विल जर्मिनेट एंड गिव राइज टू द शूट ऑफ द प्लांट, उसको बोलते हैं प्लूम्यूल, and another part of the embryo which will germinate and give rise to the root of the plant, उसको बोलते हैं radicle. So plumule and radicle are two parts of the embryo. So seed can fall into the soil in any direction, any orientation, ऐसे फेंक दिया कैसे भी, but when it will germinate, radicle will always give rise to the root and plumule will always give rise to the shoot. That is important. Okay, see how the germination process takes place. What are the requirements for seed germination? क्या क्या चाहिए seeds को germinate करने के लिए?
Soil,
Good quality soil with all the
water,
nutrients, water, yes. What
sunlight,
else? Sunlight in some extent. Okay. Anything else? It should also have gases like oxygen for respiration, right? So you can see the roots are going down. ये हर plant में देखो seed जब germinate करेगा, roots always go under the ground, shoot always comes up. Seed को कैसे भी गिरा दो soil, ऐसे ही आएगा हमेशा. So that is because it is in their genes. Getting it? See this. कभी घर में देखा रहेगा potted plant में कुछ seeds डाले होंगे, germinate हो रहे हैं.
yes,
Have you seen?
yes,
है ना, हम लोग खाने का चीजें बनाने के लिए मूंग के दाने भिगो के रखते हैं, उसमें से स्प्राउट निकल के आते हैं. यू मस्ट हैव सीन, वो भी सीड जर्मिनेशन है. दे आर सीड ग्रेन्स, करेक्ट? सो दैट इज सीड जर्मिनेशन. ठीक है. नाउ देयर आर थ्री टाइप्स ऑफ जर्मिनेशन. फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, ओके, एक होता है एपीजियल जर्मिनेशन. यू डोंट हैव ऑल द डिटेल्स ऑफ इट. ओके, एपीजियल जर्मिनेशन. दूसरा है हाइपोजियल जर्मिनेशन. And the third one is called viviparous germination. There are some plants like the mangroves, जिसमें seed जो होता है वो soil में गिरने के बाद नहीं germinate होता. The seed starts germinating when it is directly on the mother plant, and थोड़ा germinate होने के बाद फिर वो नीचे गिरेगा, इसलिए उसको viviparous germination बोलते हैं. That happens in the case of mangroves because mangrove plants are found in those regions where the soil is very salty and swampy. तो डायरेक्ट सीड गिरेगा तो इतने सॉल्टी कंडीशन में जर्मिनेट नहीं कर पाएगा, इसलिए वो प्लांट के ऊपर ही जर्मिनेट करके देन इट फॉल्स. तो मैंग्रोव प्लांट्स का वो एग्जांपल. ओके, एंड देन वी वर टॉकिंग अबाउट एंडोस्पर्म. एंडोस्पर्म का सबसे सिंपलेस्ट एग्जांपल व्हिच यू ऑल आर अवेयर, नारियल पानी पीते हैं सब लोग.
yes,
So that water which you drink is nothing but the endosperm. That coconut water which we drink is an example of endosperm, जो प्लांट ने अपने एम्ब्रियो के लिए बनाया, बट हम लोग अपना प्यास बुझाते हैं उससे. But it is very very nutritive, you know the taste, and it is very healthy. Correct? That's an example of endosperm. ठीक है? So the actual story of the process of sexual reproduction is over because plant था. Okay, you can see the entire summary in this flowchart. Okay, there is a plant having flowers on it. उसके अंदर respective reproductive organs are there. So there are anthers producing the pollen grains. Correct. Then there is the gynecium having a carpel producing the egg cell, the ovules which contain the egg cell. Okay. Then what is happening? There is fertilization which is taking place. पहले pollination होगा. Okay, pollen grain will germinate on the stigma. Two male gametes will be produced. The pollen tube will carry the male gametes inside the ovule. Okay, and then inside the ovule it will carry the two male gametes will fertilize, one of them fusing with the egg cell to produce the zygote. Okay, and that process is called syngamy. The other male gamete will fuse with the polar nuclei to produce the endosperm, which will be the food for the developing embryo. And जो पहले ovule था, now it has turned into a seed. And जो ovary था, that has turned into a fruit. So there is a fruit inside which the seeds are present. So after seed dispersal, wherever the seed will land up, it will germinate and it will produce the new plant. That new plant will again start having the own flowers and all, and the same story will continue. So is the entire story clear? Remain on the video,
Yes.
everyone.
Yes,
Harsha,
sir.
Dipali, clear as up?
Yes, sir.
Any doubts?
Yes.
Okay.
No, sir.
So all this process has been given in your textbook, but not in much detail. But ये समझना जरूरी था ताकि पूरा story picture clear हो जाए. Correct? So we have completed sexual reproduction in flowering plants fully. Okay. Based on that, ready to answer some questions? Okay. Okay. First one. Meiosis is not involved in dash type of reproduction. Bolo. I should be fast in answering.
Asexual.
Meiosis not involved in asexual type of reproduction. Do you agree with this?
Yes.
Okay. Next one. The male reproductive wall of a flower is called
Androecium.
Androecium.
it is androecium. Correct. Ishika, answer this next one. Bolo. Solanum tuberosum propagates vegetatively by producing. Can anyone tell the common name of this plant? Solanum tuberosum. But इसका answer बहुत logical है. See the name of the plant and see the options.
Tuber.
It is tuber. And Solanum tuberosum is nothing but potato. Okay, the potato plant. इसका नाम है. I have given you those examples. तो potato जो हम लोग खाते हैं वो tubers है उसके. ठीक है? Next. बोलो. Mushrooms reproduce mainly by producing mushrooms.
Spores.
Yes, they belong to which group?
Fungi.
Fungi, correct. So they produce spores. Okay. Next. Harsha will answer this. Read the question.
After fertilization in higher plants, the ovule develops to form the pollen grains.
Okay. Harsha. Fertilization सब हो गया तो फिर pollen grains का क्या जरूरत है?
Fruit.
That's again wrong. After fertilization, ovule develops to form the seed and ovary develops to form the fruit. Getting it? Harsha, how can it be pollen grains? Where are the pollen grains produced? Yes, Harsha? Were you concentrating properly? I'm not able to see you. Harsha, are you there?
Sir, actually there is network issue though, so the net meeting is बार बार कट हो रहा है मीटिंग और फोन में चार्जिंग नहीं है तो चार्ज पे कनेक्ट किया है ना इसलिए कैमरा चालू.
Okay, but please try to understand. Okay, concentrate करना जितना हो सके, ठीक है? So as far
Yes.
as possible before the class, at least keep your devices charged.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so here the answer is seed. See, it is after fertilization. Pollen grains तो much पहले हो गया ना, flower में बनता है वो. And they are carrying the male gametes. So after fertilization क्या करना है pollen grains का? Are you getting it? So apply logically also. ठीक है? Next. The first cell of new life in sexually reproducing organisms is the
Zygote.
zygote, correct. Next. The transfer of pollen grains from the anther of one flower to stigma of same or another flower is known as
Pollination.
it is pollination. Correct. Next. Yeast reproduces by dash type.
Budding.
It
Budding.
is budding. Correct. Then corolla is made up of
Petal.
Petals.
That's right. Correct. And the stalk of a flower is known as the
Pedicel.
pedicel. Correct. Okay. So we have completed discussion about sexual reproduction in flowering plants, in higher plants. Okay, that part of the lesson is complete. Okay, any doubts, any questions?